My name is Justin Williams. I work at the Edmonton Valley Zoo, and I'm the Reserved Programs Education Coordinator.
Hello, I'm John Rossi. I'm a touring drummer with a passion for animal conservation. When I'm on the road, I spend as much time as possible visiting zoos, aquariums, and conservation organizations. Now, I want to share those places with you. I'll be talking to keepers, vets, conservationists, anyone who can help me in my mission of connecting my people to animals through their people. Join me on my Rossifari. Hi, hello, how are you, eh? See, I added that because this is an episode from Canada. All right, y'all, so this week we are headed off to the Edmonton Valley Zoo, where I spoke to Justin Williams at the AZA Conference, where we were all hanging out. So the episode is a lot of fun. You're going to get to learn about the Edmonton Valley Zoo. You're going to get to hear some amazing stories about some of the animals there, including baby red pandas and an elephant who goes on walks, which is not something you really see or hear of every day anymore, but is pretty darn cool. So it's a lot of fun, but something may be popping out to some of you, which is that the Edmonton Valley Zoo is not an AZA or ZAA accredited facility. Now, they do have their accreditations, but more importantly, they are part of the Pathways to the AZA program, which is something that I think a lot of people don't even know about, but Justin and I have a really fun time discussing that and what that looks like and what that means for the zoo. And obviously, they are working very well with the AZA, as, you know, their red pandas are part of the SSP. So you'll hear some stories about the success that they've had with their red pandas, and not just the young ones. There's a pretty cool story about an older panda that I drop into this one. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to sharing a zoo with you that, even though I haven't actually been there yet, has slowly become one of my favorite places because the team there is just incredible. I've met so many amazing human beings from the Edmonton Valley Zoo and the Zoo Development Society. And yes, there's kind of a difference and kind of not, and you'll learn all about that too. So with all of that said, a quick reminder to make sure that you hit subscribe so you don't miss any of these interview episodes or any of our Friday Zoo News episodes. Make sure you're following along on the socials at Rossifari and on TikTok at Rossifari Pod. We just cracked 80,000 followers between Insta and TikTok, and I'm pretty proud of that. So yeah, and with all that said, let's get to it. Here is my interview with Justin Williams of the Edmonton Valley Zoo. All right, very cool. And we connected because you have been hyping your zoo with Zoo News stuff.
Trying, we're a small zoo and municipally owned, so we're not as quick to put stuff out on social media, has to, go through that extra level. So when it is, I like to spread the love, and I'm not from Edmonton, so I like to send it to all my friends. And once I discovered your podcast, I was like, oh, well, we got to get on there.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. And it's led to something that I just didn't expect, which is we are currently at the AZA Conference. We have snuck out of the awards banquet to do this interview because we are naughty people. And but at this conference, not only have we been hanging out, but your entire team has just kind of adopted me.
You're part of the family. We have a lovely relationship with our Valley Zoo Development Society, and they're here as well. And yeah, we're all a big community, and we love to share in each other's sorrows, happiness, and we like to hang out. And so we're happy to have you. You're always welcome.
It's been insane. Like I'm having so much fun with y'all. And before you messaged me, for Zoo News a couple months ago or whatever, I didn't know the facility existed. And now I'm like besties with all of you. And it's been amazing.
It's the Canadian way. We have to be accommodating.
Right? It's been very cool. So, yeah, can we start off by talking about, so the Edmonton Valley Zoo exists. and then the Valley something building zoo people exist.
Yeah.
I did that super well.
You did it well.
Yes. Can you explain how these two organizations are different but also like coexist, are the same, whatever?
Yeah, so the Valley Zoo Development Society began in 1988 as the charity arm of the zoo. The zoo is municipally owned and has been since its conception in 1959. So makes it a little bit hard when we want to apply for grants or get funding outside of what City Council is able to give us. So they are able to go out, talk about the education, the conservation we do, all the good work, and allow us to do things kind of at a faster pace, or talk with donors because the city cannot accept donations. So,
oh my gosh, I didn't even think of something like that.
A lot
that
of people
makes so
don't.
much sense.
Yeah, so it really assists with that, and they've been a wonderful partner every step of the way, every project that we've done. And we wouldn't be where we are currently without them. And the future is really bright because of them as well.
And even though you're two separate things because of logistics, you're also not.
Yeah,
because this team is all hanging out together. You all drove here together. I believe you got like one big house that you're all hanging out in.
One big house, and then a few. When we ran out of space, we had to here there a little Airbnb. But yeah, we're all connecting with each other. Where are you having dinner? What are you doing tonight? Making sure that we hit each session differently so we can all compile and come together and think of great ideas for the future.
I love that. Yeah, I love how much your team has been intentional about making sure that you're all getting to different places and then like sharing and taking lots of notes.
Mm-hmm. This is many of our first AZA and AZA, not AZA classes. But, we're really taking advantage of it because normally it's one or two people, usually not. So we're very, very fortunate. So we're really trying to soak it all in and, hopefully maybe we can go to many more. But, we're opportunities here, so we're taking it.
I'm just going to float this now. I say that you get the same exact crew, all fly up and meet y'all. And next year, y'all come to Tampa, but you still drive in one big van. And we just film it and make content.
I'm down for that. That's a lovely drive.
That's like a full reality show.
I've driven all the way across Canada, so I might as well go down to Florida. Nice.
I love it. So, okay, so that makes a lot of sense as far as the division that isn't a division. So let's talk a little bit about what your personal, like what your title means. Who are you at the zoo?
That's a great question. So I've just come into this role of reserved education coordinator. So all the experiences that you would book, so field trips, sleepovers, virtual programming, birthday parties, all of that I'm responsible for creating, checking curriculum, making sure birthday parties are fun because they're not here to curriculum based. Before I was the site animation and volunteer experiences coordinator. So I got to work with all the lovely volunteers, not just at the zoo, but throughout the city and all the attractions. And work with them and work with all the site animators who run the train, the carousel, the eco kiosk. So a little bit of my background on that, but I also come from a museum background, so more education building is kind of my specialty, if you will. So I'm happy to come into this role and, see what I can do.
So what kind of museum work did you do?
I've worked at a police museum, a Cold War museum that's an underground bunker. I've worked at the Canadian Museum of Nature, so that's where I got a lot of my animal experience and nature experience as well. It's been a long journey.
It sounds like it. That's really cool. What does working in museums do to prepare you to work at a zoo?
So a lot of people don't see the crossover, but a lot of the building educational programming materials, being an interpreter, I started off as a tour guide, and at a lot of zoos you start as an interpreter, and it's the same kind of thing, just different information, but same people skills, same listening skills, the ability to read a crowd or read a room, know where to go, scrapping what you were going to talk and going here because the interest is there, answering questions. The thing I love to say before I start a tour, even now, is there's ask all the questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question. And I have experience with kids who will try that, and it's like a competition with yourself to make it relevant, even if it's like, haha, that it's carrying it's stupid. It's like, well, blah blah, and you turn it on them, and then it's like, oh darn, and they learn something.
Nice.
So it's kind of fun.
That's cool. What do you think is an easier thing to learn? When you come into something like a zoo, you like the science of it and like the animal facts and all of that stuff, or those like innate like interpreter / communication skills?
That's a great question. I think if you are a people person, or you've made the effort to really hone in on when you're in front of someone, you're learning the cues and all that, that one takes a little more time, because you can, especially if you're good at learning facts and remembering, then you can do that, and then as you practice on, you get better and better and easier, and it flows. But the being a people person out in front, learning how to navigate with a group if they get sidetracked or half the group leaves because they see something over there, and you're like, oh, what do I do? My group is leaving, or how do I get them? That takes a little more, especially if you aren't from like a theater background, or you were shy as a kid like me. So it took me a long while to feel comfortable in my own body to be at this point. I just didn't come up and be like, I'm going to be a zoo interpreter, and bada bing. It took 10 plus years to get to this point. Even talking on a podcast, when I was a kid, I'd be like, no, thank you, I'm okay. I couldn't even talk to my teachers outside of school. I would hide behind my parents.
Wow.
So that is a very, if you're not kind of, people are born with it and they got it, but people who don't, you got to really work at it, and it takes time.
Yeah, no, definitely. It is a unique set of skills that I was just kind of born with, fortunately.
Interacting with you now, you're like my dad. I did not pass on to me, but
The funny thing is, though, I kind of consider myself an introvert in that I do need to disengage and like reset on my own and stuff. Mm-hmm. And also, I'm more comfortable around certain people, and zoo people are those people. So, like, when you've seen me, literally, when I met most of the people from your facility and the development team, I met you all at once. And I was like gregarious podcast host guy and like firing off one-liners and making everyone laugh and like, But if that was just like a random group of people, it would have been, I could still have done that, but I would have then needed to like go and recharge. But there's just something about zoo people, animal people in general, where I don't feel any of that,
It's a special group, Last night, one of our team members was in an orangutan costume, and it was like no big deal. So it's a special group of people.
Yeah, it literally led to me interviewing 3 of them for the recap episode because I saw somebody running around in an orangutan costume and was like, oh, I need to see what's going on. And I was like, oh, of course it's Edmonton Valley. Of course it is. I actually made eye contact first when I came up with Tiana, who is another person, that I've met in this group. And we kind of made eye contact and laughed. And then I was like, oh, it's funny that, Tiana is here. And then I was like, oh, wait. And and then I looked at the orangutan and I was like, oh, okay, we're just doing this now.
It's connecting.
Yeah. Yep. It was great though. I love the vibe of your team. Like, I know I already said that, but like, I can't stress it enough. It has been so cool to see this team that loves each other so much, and y'all really let your freak flags fly.
We try. That's something we really strive, and it's really important, is that we want to create a welcoming environment. This year we had a lot of new interpreters who were like, from the drama, they've never done anything like this before, and we want them to feel comfortable, ready to go, because it's a lot of info you learn right at the get-go. So making sure that they feel comfortable, supported, loved, that we're there, we're championing for them, and we want them to succeed as best as possible, both ways. The people that supervise us down to the people we supervise, we want them to feel included. obviously interpreters like to not hang out with coordinators and managers outside. We understand that, but when we get a chance to do that, it's our chance to hang out together, have fun, but be there for each other. And whenever we need support, someone else is like, yep. Like myself and Dallas, we were preparing for AZA because we were speaking, and we had literally Friday night, we had our fall in service with our interpreters. We're like, oh, we can't make another PowerPoint. And one of our colleagues was like, I got you. 70 slides later of all the winter and fall service, all the boo at the zoo that we're doing, all this stuff. Got you. Did it for us. And, we're literally like, kind of cry, like, thank you for it. So we all support each other because we know it's a team effort or else we all crumble.
Right. And since you mentioned speaking, what were you speaking on at the conference?
I was talking about moderating and talking about our virtual programming along with great individuals from the North Carolina Zoo, Maritime Aquarium, Aquarium at Norfolk. So lovely people I got to meet in person instead of virtually, which was really, really cool. And, we all had our own unique spin because we're all educators. So it wasn't just a sit there and talk panel. It was dressed as Miss Frizzle, wearing an elephant hat. It was amazing.
That's awesome. And so what type of virtual programming were you talking about specifically?
So we launched a pilot that we filmed, I think, 2021. And then we wanted to do a whole series. Cost a lot of money. So Valley Zoo Development Society helped us get a provincial grant, along with other individuals like a small company, a production company, a local TV host became our person in front of the camera instead of a poor, nervous interpreter, and really helped us be able to spend all $120,000 to create 10 video series that we have broadcasted not only in Alberta but across Canada and even in different countries now. So it's very, very exciting and zero marketing. So we got to work on that, but that again is more money. But we're really happy with what it is, and we're happy to see where it takes us.
No, that's really cool. And did you find that you got a lot from the other educators?
Oh, for sure. We were all different. Like ours is, we have horrible cell reception where we are. So doing live videos doesn't really work. Even phone calls, our app is a little wonky just because that's the nature and geography. So one individual talked about their Facebook Live and how they're able to utilize social media. One was about overcoming kind of challenges and how they went and looked after or really focused on kind of individuals who might not be able to get to the zoo, like Special Olympics groups, and really making it accessible for them. And then one is talking about, we developed a whole studio with a green screen, and we did this before, and then when COVID, we kind of changed and all that stuff. So it gave people like different options because a lot of them in the audience are just at that stage like, we want to know. You look at all your options. You can do live, pre-record. Do you use an iPhone? Do you use a professional camera? Do you have a drone and you have a wear backpack and it follows you in videos? Like there's so many options.
Right.
That it just you end there and you go, I don't know. Let's come back in a month, and you don't go anywhere. So a lot of good questions, and people seem pretty happy, and we're like, okay, yeah, like it's okay. We can try whatever, and whatever works for us, that's what we're going to go with.
Yeah, authenticity is such a big thing, both on an individual level and as a organization, whether it's the zoo or whatever. Actually, going back to Kelly from your team, I really appreciated, she mentioned to me that she was looking at the Safe Red Panda social media, and she was like, I know this aesthetic, I get this vibe. And then she was like, and then when I was talking to you and you said you were running it, I was like, that makes all the sense in the world. And I was like, cool, at least I do have, it's cool that somebody who does that professionally, like, gets what I thought that was really, really fascinating, while also serving as a good reminder that, that's not just Rossifari, so maybe we get some other voices or some other stuff on there. But I did think that was, like, that's one thing I took away from this conference. That was just a random conversation with a person. But I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, at least we're being authentic. So that's good, Yeah, I do think it's also amazing to see the different budgets.
Oh, yeah.
Because like you mentioned, North Carolina Zoo was there. And I love them. And I have a great relationship with them. We've done many episodes there. But they can do some stuff.
They can do some stuff. I'm even like listening to the awards recipients. It's like, I would love to do that. I think me coming up with a draft would be the entirety of my budget for that. But it's great to see that places are able to do it, and it gives you hope or even a cause to be like, this project probably costs like $1 million. We know we're not going to get that, but for this price, we would like to do something like this. And it eventually could lead to this down the road. And that's a good business case because it shows examples of success instead of like, this is a roll of the dice.
No, absolutely. And I think one thing that I always clock is that there's so much talent in this community that are willing to help. Like I just had a couple people recently reach out to me and be like, hey, would you be willing to do voiceover stuff for us? And I was like, yeah. And I've got my own little studio. I could just do it. And they're like, what would you charge? I'm like, for a zoo? Like, come on, I got you. And there are people that charge a heck of a lot of money for that. And so like when you look at those budgets, you know, it's going to cost a little bit more to get David Attenborough than it is to get John Rossi. And but there are people that are willing to do that. And like Penguins International reached out to me, and I did voiceover work for them, and it was great, and it made me happy to be able to do it. And you know, I'm not going to charge Penguins International. They're awesome.
It's exactly so. Our virtual programming. We got a grant for $120,000, but in all in, if people didn't donate their time, it would have cost close to $200,000.
Nice, yeah.
But our host, she graciously donated her time, had so much fun.
That's
really
awesome.
The impact of being able to tell people the importance of zoos. See, you know, that extra, I get to go back of house and see stuff and all of that. It was just, and then take that, and she's so passionate in every video. It just drives it through, and you can see it through the video, and that's going to impact people when they see it.
No, absolutely. And that kind of thing, when you find people that are passionate, again, this is speaking, you know, I don't take money from these zoos at all, ever. But I love that I get to do these amazing things. And I'm cool if I don't. It's fine too. I do virtual interviews, whatever. But there was one time pretty early on that I was trying to figure out what the experiences I had already would have cost a member of the public to do. And like some of the animals that I've met, you just can't meet. There's literally, but again, if you make a $5,000 donation to a zoo, you can do it. Yeah, that kind of thing. And I was talking to somebody at one of the zoos that said, like, yeah, basically at our zoo, if you donate $5,000, you can meet any animal within reason, obviously, protected contact for, you know, whatever. But, and then like one of the animals that I had met there was one of those 5,000. And I was like, okay. And I figured that in a couple of months, I had about $40,000 worth of experiences, minimum, plus other ones that just would have been no's and stuff. And I was like, you know, and again, I'm not in it for the money. I'm not in it for that. But it is a nice way when people are giving me crap, or when people who don't get it are like, geez, we spent all this time on this. It's like, yeah, I don't quantify it that way, and I love the impact I have, and that's not why I do it. But also, when you know that I pay to go to zoos, and I haven't really paid to go to a zoo in a couple of years, and that I paid for these experiences before, and that if I was a millionaire, I would pay for all of this, you know, I actually am profiting in a way that's more meaningful to me, although that's not how I think about it. But it is cool to realize that there are animal lovers that will see that as an asset and actually put like a price tag on that.
Yeah, like the more people that they can get on board is just, it's an asset. It's it's so wonderful to have someone, especially like yourself, that just like goes around and connects people. And it's eye-opening. Like you said, anytime I meet with someone else and they're like, oh, like, here, come in. And I'm like, are you sure? Like, I work at a zoo, but I don't work here. Are you sure? And like, it's experiences that you'll remember forever. And it's priceless to me. Like,
I remember the first time that a keeper snagged me, and this was before I had the podcast. I was running my Instagram, which had a very small following, but was starting to pick up a little bit of speed, and took me back and introduced me to, you know, red pandas. And I was like, what is happening? What? How, what, and the funny thing is, probably 6 years after that, 4+ years after starting the podcast and having that pretty regularly, every time somebody is like, hey, you want to come back? I'm still like, what? Ooh, no, really? Like, it still is like day one for me. The last facility I was at was the Fort Worth Zoo. No, Dallas Zoo. I did them back to back. And I got to do cool things at both of them. And each time I was like, this is so cool. And
I'm
it's
like that on my
magical.
own facility sometimes when it's like we're getting a brand new Arctic wolf habitat built, and it's like construction. It's like I know, like technically, but really okay, sure, yeah. So it's yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, speaking of the facility, we should probably tell people about what animals you have and talk about the facility a little bit.
Of course, yeah. So we are CAZA and WAZA accredited, and we're on the pathway to AZA.
Yes, and let's pause and talk about that for a second. So what I realized I just was like, let's talk about animals, and then immediately jumped in. Sorry, guys, but this is actually really important. So when you're on the pathway to AZA, what exactly does that mean, and how is that, a thing?
So we get paired up with kind of a mentor, and Jamie from Calgary Zoo is our mentor.
Oh, nice.
And so every once in a while, because Calgary's, about a 2.5-hour drive, or sometimes, you're just visiting other cities around the province because you live here, come and check in, and kind of like what we have to do to, any other accreditation, you have to meet certain standards. So obviously it's a big task if you've never been accredited. It's a lot of homework, a lot of paperwork, a lot of binders. So kind of going through everything that you have now, what needs work, what is okay, what you have to completely change, and then check up every so often at different checkpoints. And then there are checkpoints throughout your 5-year process as well to see how you're doing, to make sure that you're on the right yellow brick road instead of going down another pathway that's scary and you don't want to go down. So they really help you and mentor you to make sure that you continue to hit those milestones so that when it's time to submit and you hopefully get that green check mark, that you're not just like, oh, well, no one told us, or like we were left in the dark, or we just interpreted this as this and it wasn't right. So it's very vital, and they're a huge resource for us. And they also help us communicate with AZA if we have any questions, because they're going to have the answers instead of us waiting on an answer, because they're very busy people.
Right. That's really cool. And have you noticed any differences at the zoo since you started this undertaking?
I mean, one good thing is our educational programming was pretty on point, so we don't really have to make changes there, which is good for me. But you can see kind of ways like going through like animal ambassadors. I'm part of the team that is responsible for artifacts or biofacts, and making sure those are stored properly and condition reporting. Enclosure renewals, we were already doing a major project with that anyways, but making sure that the ones that we had, that they fit these correct AZA recommendations, and it's not like, oh, well, this was off by like 2 feet, now we gotta make sure. So really combing through those plans. We're going through we're looking at a new master plan because ours it's up, and now we got to plan for the future. So what does that future look like, especially if we're going to be in an AZA accredited facility? What do we want to tell the story of, but also making sure that it's the gold standard. And it's kind of at a really exciting crossroad, a little scary, but more exciting than scary, and we want to do that.
That's awesome. I love that. That's very cool. So now we will get to animals as promised. So yeah, tell me about some of the keystone species.
Keystone species. Well, this year we had 4 river otter pups born.
Nice.
On top of that, we also had 2 baby red pandas born.
Ooh, yeah.
We're pretty good at breeding red pandas, although this is our first babies in a while. But Kiki is a first-time mom, and she's doing great.
Nice.
Visa DS probably mentioned that we have a Twitch stream of you can watch them in the Nest Cam.
Oh, please! Not only did they mention it, but it was immediately flashed to me, already up on the phone, ready to show me. I was like, I know, we've talked. I know. You guys told me, but yeah, it was quite adorable.
We have a lovely snow leopard. We have lynx, obviously, which are kind of important to Edmonton because that's the Oilers mascot. So
okay.
Hunter is cousins with our lynx and comes to visit every now and then.
Nice.
We have zebras. We have Garvey zebras. We have northern and harbor seals. We have a really cool one named Hula, who was someone took her from a beach, and so went to a rescue.
Someone took her from a beach. Great.
Yeah.
Good job, person. Sorry.
So went to a rescue and was going to be re-released, but they figured out that she suffers from epilepsy.
Oh, okay.
So she became non-releasable and came to live at the zoo, and she's super smart. She takes part in a study doing cognitive abilities. She's really, really personable. So she's really, really cool.
That's really cool.
I'd love to shout her out.
Is epilepsy manageable in seals, or is she having seizures and stuff?
No, so she hasn't had a seizure. She's on medication just like people.
Okay,
kind of deal with it the same way. And she's very good. We can just put her medication in a fish and easy go. It's not like a dog. Well, they'll be like, oh, I know what's in this cheese. So she's very good with it. So.
Yeah. Seals don't chew their food.
No,
it really helps. They just wolf them down. Yeah, we do that at Aquarium of Niagara, and it's always just amazing. To see, sucker.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I had never heard of epilepsy in a seal before.
Not there right until I got there, but
yeah,
it's really cool.
Nice. That is really cool. So that was a great overview, but much like how we just started to talk about your seal, I want to go a little deeper. You know how we do things here. So what has the impact of the pandas been? First of all, we know who the mom was now, but who's the dad?
So dad is Tango.
Okay.
And Tango's dad, Calden, also is, so grandpa now, lives at the zoo.
Oh, wow,
He's in that retirement phase, so he just kind of hangs out alone.
It's time for Interrupting John.
All right, so as I mentioned, this was recorded back at the AZA Conference, and if you are a regular Zoo News listener, you may recognize that Calden is no longer at the Edmonton Valley Zoo. Instead, Calden is the red panda that was chosen to go to the Toronto Zoo to be a father figure for the baby panda there, known as Biggie, or now officially called Poppy. So so that is where Calden is at now, and we love a story like that. Anyway, back to the interview.
And then it's Tango and Kiki, and now the kids.
Okay.
And then other past descendants have gone off to other zoos, and you might know Paprika.
Yes,
so
I do.
She is part of the family.
Oh, okay, I've met Paprika.
Yeah.
She's great. Yeah, I love Paprika. Yeah, very cool. So what kind of impact are you seeing from, because you interact with people, having panda cubs there?
Oh, it's everyone, because, our social media reach is so big. We're trying. But when we're able to mention that or put it up just at our front entrance, people are like, you have baby? It's like, you just see when we found out, it's that enjoyment all over again. But, every day it's like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, you want to come see them? You want to come? You're not going to be able to see them, but here's the TV that shows you the Nest Cam right here. And then, oh, look, there's Grandpa, there's Calvin. And red pandas are one of probably the most or top two popular animals at our zoo. So it always helps. It's always like, okay, where's a red panda? Not on the ground. You got to use your animal eyes. Oh, look up in the trees. And just that excitement. And then kids in talking about climbing and how climb up, but they can't climb backwards. So you got to go like this. And you ask kids like, oh, what would you? I'd jump. It's like, oh, well, they can't. So how do you think? And getting that, critical thinking going is really, really cool. And red pandas are always so popular and easy to get that going with all the visitors.
Nice, very cool. And then you mentioned wolves and that you're getting a new habitat.
Yeah, so we have Tundra.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, his partner passed away 2022 now, so It's been a little bit. And so it took over a year for us to source Arctic wolves, companions, and females at that. And so our two new wolves came from Paris. So shout out to our registrar, Jackie, because that took a lot.
I bet. Yeah.
So they arrived on Valentine's Day, the same day that our otter pups were born.
Oh my goodness,
So
that was a day.
That was a big day.
That was a day.
Very
yeah.
big day. So the wolves came, they stayed in quarantine, they cleared quarantine. Now we're just waiting to do introductions once the new habitat is done. So they've done that, scent introductions and all that. And I like to pretend that if I walk by and I speak French to the wolves, they're like, oh, more perking up because they're used to French than English. But that's just me saying that.
That's really funny, though. I like that. That's great.
But I'm excited. I'm excited for people to see because people keep asking because we have banners and they're like, oh, are they out? I don't see them. It's like, no, they're still behind the scenes because they got to get ready for their new home. And so a lot of people are asking and getting excited for it. So I'm excited for it to finally open this fall.
Sweet. And that actually brings up an interesting question. In Canada, there is a lot of French speaking as well as a lot of English speaking. And I know that y'all will transfer with American facilities as well and everything, but I'm guessing a lot of the transfers are just in Canada for sake of ease. I'm going to say this in a silly way, but are the animals bilingual? And by what I actually mean by that is like when you're training, when they learn cues and stuff, if you get French-speaking primarily keepers, and then they move to a facility with English-speaking keepers primarily or whatever, how do you navigate all of that?
That's a great question. Off the top of my head, I haven't experienced it.
Okay.
But I know some of our otters have gone to the Eco Museum in Montreal, and some of our male lynx just went to Zoo Sauvage, which is also in Quebec. But a lot of the people, at least the higher up, they'll have to speak a lot of English. So there is some knowledge of English. When it comes to the training, I'm not entirely sure. But, it's easy that, for friends, especially in Alberta, English is a predominant language. And there's a smaller population that just speaks French, and then there's a percentage in there that are bilingual. So you can easily be like, oh, what's this word, and get them used to it. And as we all know, you train it until they're like, okay, this word means this, got it.
Right.
I would be my best guess, but I don't know. I haven't come across an animal that is from. It would probably be like a Zoo Sauvage, Zoo de Granby, but they're because they're touristy places. There would be a little bit of English.
Right.
On the guest services side, but the animal side, I'm not sure.
Interesting. So I'll have to look into it more. I'm curious. Yeah,
it's going to go in the brain, and I'm going to have to do some research.
Yeah, very interesting. Well, fun to think about. Cool. So it's awesome so have the introductions with the wolf pack been going well through the just scent and stuff?
The scent and stuff. Tundra is very positively going in his crate. So we've done the walls to like kind of plywood, and then now the actual crate is in there, and he's just like, oh yeah, in I go. And so doesn't know yet that he's getting a brand new home. We keep telling him, and he's like, whatever. So, but we're excited for him, and I know he's going to be excited. And he's probably very excited to meet his two lady friends.
Oh, I'm sure. Yes. Neat. So, yeah. Are there, you mentioned that red pandas are one of the two most popular. What is the other?
So the other one is Lucy. She's a pretty famous elephant. She's been at our facility for 47 years. She was orphaned and came to us from Sri Lanka, and she's been a valuable member. There are keepers that have worked with her for 35, 40 years. So They are her family, her herd. She's retired now, so you can't go into her home. It's all hers. The only time that the public can really see her now is if she's out on a walk. But many generations of Edmontonians have grown up with her, and so they want to show their kids her. So it's really like she's like a legacy animal for us. Like she's so popular. She's going to be popular forever. She's going to turn 50 next year. So I don't know what to get a retired 50-year-old elephant, but I'm sure something is on the list.
Right. No, that's very cool. So you said walking An elephant. And I have been to many PetSmarts, and I've never seen a harness that size. So how does that work?
Yeah, so she goes for walks. She always has two keepers with her because she's so smart, and we'll get into somewhere that she probably shouldn't or can't fit or anything like that. And making sure that people give her plenty of space. And when she's in a area that is high crowded, we have to draw in extra interpreters to make sure elephant security is one of those other duties as required jobs that we don't really tell them about until it happens.
That's kind of amazing, actually.
It's pretty cool. But yeah, she does it for getting out, for physiotherapy. And just kind of, she has her different trails, and she just, you'd be like, okay, and goes to the gate, and it's like, what direction today? And she'll go one way, and then somebody's like, no, this way, just kidding. And so we'll have to rearrange everyone to make sure that she has a big enough path. And it's always cool because when people ask, oh, can I go see her? She's retired. You can't go inside of her house. You might be able to see her when she's on a walk, and kind of just that, like, there's still a chance. That gets people excited. There are days where many people would be like, oh, where's Lucy? And it's like, actually, I haven't seen her today. So, like, you can try here, here, or here, and be like, oh, I did that. It's like, maybe try it again, because that was probably 3 hours ago, and she eventually will get there.
Right, yeah, because you said she walks, like, a lot. Like, this is a thing.
She can go for quick walks. Sometimes she can be out for 6-7 hours, and you have to be like, okay, like you got to go to bed, like it's time to go, like we got to clock out soon. So, but her keepers are wonderful. They would do anything for her, and even be like, okay, one more hour of a walk, like it's okay. I don't have to go to the grocery store. So, no, they're so lovely, and they'll answer any questions because they get the same. How old is she? How much does she weigh? What type of elephant? Every single day, but it's like the first time they've ever been asked it. So
right, that's really cool. Do they ever lie and say she's a woolly mammoth? No, I'm kidding.
Not yet. Not that I've heard.
See that they need to talk to me. I'll teach them some education stuff. No. But what I'm wondering is, and it might be just as silly of a question as that, but I'm genuinely curious. So when she's walking through the zoo.
Sometimes through the zoo or the off public areas.
Okay, but she has the ability to walk through it. Does she have a favorite exhibit to visit?
Ooh, the meerkats really like when she walks by. Okay. They're like, whoa. Favorite exhibit. She likes up by the camels and toucans because she has a kind of a big kind of grassy area, but there's also a mud pit for her.
Nice.
Where she goes and has her mud bath. So she likes up there. That's probably one of her favorite spots.
Nice. I mean, toucan are incredible.
Are incredible.
Let's just call it.
They just stand there. They seem to not care that there's an elephant there, but they're still wonderful.
That's amazing. I'm always intrigued. Zoe and I have. There was a period of time when we fostered some working dogs.
Oh, nice.
For the Penn Vet Working Dog Center, and part of exposing them to things is taking them to zoos, and it is fascinating to see what animals are terrified of them, and then you instantly get them away, of course. I wouldn't ever leave them in that situation. Ignore them, and are fascinated by them, and want to play with them. Mm-hmm. And I literally have video of a dog playing with a snow leopard through glass, but like clearly playing, clearly having fun, being besties. And I'm like, this is incredible.
Our Amur Tiger with Hunter, the Oilers, he was there. The Lynx were like, whatever. But Amba really took to Hunter and was like, trying to play with him, doing kind of cub behavior. It was really, really cute to see. And Hunter was like, well, okay, I'm just going to lay here, like play, like I don't know what to do. And I was just like, oh yeah, like I want to cuddle with you. And we're like, wow, this is so cool.
That's awesome. Oh, I love that so much. Is there anything else that you want to say about your career or the zoo or anything like that?
I mean, if you've ever dreamed of, that was the 5-year-old me we didn't have a zoo in Ottawa, but every year we go to rural New Brunswick, and we'd always have to go to the Magnetic Hill Zoo. That was my childhood, and at 5, I'm like, I'm going to work at a zoo, and then you grow up and don't think so, and if you really want something, like don't be afraid. I have a history background in museums, but you can use that experience And what we always say is any experience can be transferred to something that you want to do. And then you learn the knowledge along the way to help you. But that experience is going to open up doors or lead you to meet people and open up even more doors. And, I'm so glad I've found this community and I never want to leave it now. I think when people be like, well, what's your career? What's your end? I think I've finally be like, okay, I know this section now. Like, I also kind of don't want to move anymore. I've moved a lot. So, I'm happy to stay in a place. But I've kind of, like you said, I found my people. I found a place that I feel like I can make a real impact, even at a smaller facility. You're still reaching thousands of people, and it really means a lot. So if you're interested, reach out to someone. I always love to answer questions when people ask, like, how you got here, what's your background, or anything like that, because they're curious. And there's always that curiosity, especially at a place like a zoo. Like, how does one work here other than being a zookeeper? We made a PowerPoint that we started to go to schools who were asking about career development and whatnot, and it was like, oh, it's more than just zookeepers. You can trades,
right?
Site keepers, mechanics. Like, there's so many other things other than the zookeeper or an interpreter that you aren't really as highlighted, but like they're there. So if that's what you really love to do, you can do that at a facility like a zoo, and you're still helping with conservation, educating, and helping animals.
Yeah.
And if you're in those trades, you don't get pooped on as much. So.
Fair. Although it can still happen.
It can still happen. Less likely, but you always have to be on the lookout.
And then, is there a conservation organization you'd like to give a shout out to?
I mean, I love the Red Panda Network, but also the palm oil awareness. Since we're coming into Halloween, we kind of transitioned. That's a big focus of our Halloween event. And so we were talking with them here at the conference, and they were just so tickled pink that, we're utilizing them. They don't have as many people in Canada scanning barcodes, so we're always advocating for that. We all have, on our personal phones and work phones, we all have the app to be like, scan or talk about it and show kids how to do it. Oceanwise as well is another fun one that we work with and make sure all of our seafood is sustainably sourced, because Hula eats a lot of fish, and so do her other seal friends, and so we always like to highlight those. And I've worked with or used that a lot in the programming, kind of lately, I guess. So I like those.
Yeah, those seafood. I don't eat seafood, but those various guides that are out there are so cool.
They're very helpful.
Yeah,
because again, it can be so overwhelming. You're like, I don't know, and then you just stop. So easier guides are giving you kind of step by step. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, I love it. And then it is time.
It's time now, don't you know? We've come to the end of the show, but there's one tale left to go. You're gonna laugh and say, oh no. It's time for the Rossifari poop story.
So I'll go to my dear friend Dash. Dash is a Mallee mastix, and he's pooped on me the most, and it's not even close to compared to the other ones. But the first time he did it, he's an ambassador animal, so I was holding him, and he felt kind of like full, like you have a big meal, and so I'm holding him, and then he starts to. And I'm like, oh my God, Dash, are you okay? Oh no. And he's like kind of doing that vibrating, and I'm like, oh no. And then he just released, and he had a really, really massive poop. And I was like, oh, you were being like a toddler who really just had to poop and like just really wanted it out and like really forcing it. And then he was back to his normal self, moving around, being like, oh yeah. And so I ever since then, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So, and then I warn people, I'm like, if he ever starts to make a noise, get ready, because it's coming.
Nice. I love it. Well, thank you for taking the time to do this. It's been fun.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor to meet you, and I can't wait.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. I really enjoyed spending time with Justin talking. And like I said, with the entire team from the Edmonton Valley Zoo / Zoo Development Society. And they're just again, I keep saying this, but awesome humans. I'm actually trying very hard to work out a trip to go visit them in the late spring, which is kind of when things start to thaw out up there. And I don't know if it will happen, but I'm working very hard to make it happen. And I really hope I'm able to, because I need to get to this zoo. Awesome people, awesome animals. Yes, please, more of that. And speaking of awesome people, don't forget that you can be awesome people by supporting the podcast for as little as $3 a month by going to patreon.com/Rossifari. If you sign up at the Binturong or Red Panda level patron level, you will get a sticker every month from our friends at Cappy Trails. And on top of that, if you go full Red Panda, you'll get to hear your name at the end of the episode when I say something like this. I'd like to say thank you to my Red Panda level patrons, Dr. Laura Schenk, Dr. Stephen Williamson, Barbara Bennett, Jenny Owens, and Kevin Williams. Woo! So with all of that said, we'll see you back here for Zoo News on Friday. And remember, friends, the word credits backwards is Steiderk. The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Rossi. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo.